Welcome everyone to IG8Live Esports. We're live this evening with L2S F2 Esports League for round 2 of 10 for the current season that they're on. I think it's season 3 there, and it's for the Mexican Grand Prix, on with our one-shot qualifying session right now, and 17 drivers on the grid. So let's see what the order is going to be. So far looks like J Sarge might be getting the fastest lap in. I'm trying to see how that's going to switch around in the minimal as they get around the track. Still around in sector 1 going at the moment. So let's see how the lap does go. I'll put a bit of a lap later on. At least we can have a look at that and what's happening on that end. And we can see most of our drivers using the super soft tires to try to get some sort of advantage, or any sort of advantage that they can. Slayer seems to be moving somewhere around the midfield right now, trying to get the fastest lap. And it looks like Lando is in P1 so far, switching it a bit with Laurentier and BMC down in third. Scientist up to fourth already with that. So let's see if that's going to hold going on. So we're trying to get up on top to have a look at the top 3 runners at the moment. Lando running second, and still with Laurentier just out in front. He might just be able to take away provisional pole start here. Let's see if he's able to get that done before the end of the lap, as they're currently through sector 3 already and going through. Laurentier seems to be holding steady though, and holding on to fastest lap so far. As just about one chicane left to go and finishing off the lap. Looks like Laurentier will be getting P1 for the start at least, as he gets around here. Right to Lando coming just behind him, and a 124.4 goes for Laurentier. Lando with a 124.7, separated just by about 3/10, so really close up at the lap times. A few drivers disqualified from their qualifying lap there. BMC takes third, John Vanter will take fourth on that battle, starting 5th. Scientist starts 6th, and Slayer starts 7. We'll look at the starting grid as getting through before the race starts itself, hopefully. But not a bad qualifying lap there for at least half of the grid. Still got a lap time in before getting started. So let's have a look and see where they are at. So Laurentier is going to start P1 on the grid. Lando will have to start second, missed it about by 3/10 or 4/10. BMC starting third, John will start fourth, Bollocks in fifth, Scientist starts sixth, Slayer in seventh, GTF Fanatic in eighth, Mr. Padar in ninth, Dikona in 10th, Omar 11, J Sarge down in 12, Spooner 13, Infamous in 14, Ace vs King in 15, David in 16, and Frenzy down in 17. At least half of the grid is qualified from the qualifying lap. Since it's only one shot they have at it, they gotta make sure that they don't invalidate the lap, otherwise they do get disqualified from the session. Either way, we're about to get started right now on the feature race here. So 50% feature race, then followed by a 50% sprint race just after. So let's get started with that race and see how well the opening lap is gonna go here at Mexico. Okay, that's 5 lights and getting started right now. On board with Lando, see who gets a better start between him and Laurentier. But Laurentier gets out in front pretty well actually, and does go down to third right now, with John getting up into second place, and a bit of contact with BMC I think there, so quite aggressive on that move as well. That might just be looked at the end of the race going on through. About these 5 or 6 cars going wide, and quite a bit of incident on that start there on the opening lap, and that might just result in VSC. I'm not sure, but seems to be going on pretty just continuing on, at least for now. I will let that be at least for the moment going on through. We're on with Deacon at the moment, watching on in front of him, at least about 3 to 4 cars fighting on through. He goes alongside and gets past Slayer up in the 9th, and he's now going to try and get past Spooner there at least for 8. We're on with a virtual safety car, possibly for that incident happened, and a bit of contact between quite a few cars as they all missed the braking zones quite a bit. Didn't realize that virtual safety car possibly was happening there, and that might just be for the opening lap incident down in sector 1 that happened just about at least about 30 to 40 seconds ago. And still continuing in lap 1 right now. It's going to be a 20 lap race here for the feature race. So let's have a look out front and possibly have a look at what position changes actually happen here. So at least 2 drivers kept their positions from the start of the race coming to this point, and that's going to be Laurentier and Bollocks there in 5th. John Banter is up to 2nd on the grid, Scientist up to 3rd, and BMC lost a position down to 4th. A bit of an aggressive start there with him, and Lando down to 6th by 4 positions. Infamous up to 7th right now. He's gained 7 positions from the start. Slayer down by a position in 8th. Decona is up 1 in 9th. Ace versus King running 11th. JSR running 12th, and I think we're back racing again. So let's switch on back out in front, see what's happening between BMC and Scientist at the moment, because I'm going to switch on back over to tires as well. So a few cars on the soft tires that start the race, and most of them on well, a few cars on the super soft, most of them on the softs. We'll see how the strategy works for going to the end of the race, because they probably have to do a stop with that one there. And closest gap, I'm trying to have a look down at the back of the grid here with Decona and Ace versus King to see how close up they are actually here. We do have quite a few close gaps down in the midfield at the back of the grid here, trying to have a look and see how well that's going for them. Out in front, Laurentier leads by at least 1.2 seconds away from John. They're running in 2nd, and Scientist running in 3rd. He's within a second of John's car, but still gonna have a bit of a difficult time to get that overtake done with. And let's see who else is going to try to get an overtake with, because David is trying to catch up right now to Decona here, pretty close up behind. Of course, Decona on the super soft tires out in front, still not having the best of an advantage as David gets around the he gets around Decona's car, gets up into P9, but looks like Decona might be trying to get it back. Not sure if he will be able to, but we got J Sarge and Decona finding his side by side a bit for a position here. J Sarge back down to 11th. He's trying to catch her back once again and gain that time that he just lost there. GTA Fanatic and Omar down at the back of the grid fighting for a position as well in front of them, Mr. Badar, but I think Omar might be holding on to that position at least for now. Doesn't seem to be wanting to give that up. Out in front, the Ranger gets a pretty decent lead going. He is ahead by 2.1 seconds right now, which is going to be a tremendous advantage to him, provided with the gap that we have with the rest of the grid. Down behind in third, Scientist by 1.4 seconds behind John right now, so has some time to catch up with. Infamous running in 5th. He's trying to catch up to BMC down there in 4th, has about a second to do that. Ace versus King in 8th. He still actually is chasing after Slayer, and gap is pretty close, but not sure how much of an advantage he's actually having. Let's turn on telemetry so you can see what exactly is going on track here. Of course, these cars have no ERS on them, so no overtake to use as in the F1 cars that we usually have. Gap's still about 3/10, and he's getting pretty close out behind. Don't see next Slayer is having the best of run through this sector of the track, because he's kind of holding up Ace versus King here at the moment, and David getting held up down at the back there as well as he's trying to get on through with that. So he's going to try and get an overtake on both of them at the same time if possible. And let's see where he goes, because Ace versus King running in 7th right now. Slayer down to 8. David's still there in 9th and trying to get by Slayer if he's able to get by the position. I'm not sure, because he's going to try it on the inside, possibly there to get around. Try to have a look on board with him right now. He's going around the outside, trying to take the long way around. It's definitely having a lot of contact with Slayer's car and still pushing on through. Going a bit straight, might get some advantage on this, as the DRS advantage will come into play for him. Out in front, the Ranger gets even bigger of a lead, 3.7 seconds ahead right now, and Slayer trying to keep David out of the slipstream, but not working too well as he takes it around the outside. But forced to take it around the outside and still gets the overtake done and goes a bit wide off track. Has to try and get back on, loses a few tenths and has contact with I think he had contact with Slayer, I'm not sure, but he's gotten back around and he's gotten back going once again. Back up into P5 here with BMC right now chasing after Infamous. A 5:10 gap is what he has. We got Decona into the pits at the moment, so doing an early stop for him. Not sure if he has some damage on the car, which is why he is stopping. Out in front of the Ranger still leads by about 4.6 seconds right now, so he's finding some sort of advantage on track and no one else seems to be finding John down by that time. He's running with Scientist behind him about 2.3 seconds. BMC gets a penalty down to 5th. Infamous running 4th, still trying to catch up though. BMC still within DRS range of Infamous's car though, so he needs to be a bit careful about that. J Sarge running here in 9th. Trying to catch up to Slayer. Slayer not having the best of luck on track here here in Mexico for some reason, because he's down all the way in 8th. and almost being caught up by J Sarge right about now. He's right up to the rear of that car, so let's see how that's going to work out, because it looks like he's going into the pits, and definitely seems so. Might be want to be getting off those tires because doesn't seem to be having much luck on them. That's going to put J Sarge up to 3.7 seconds behind Ace versus King, so he's going to continue chasing after that to get that position up if he can. Most of the gaps are going to start to go away just a little bit here right now. As you can see, most of them going over a second. BMC though still trying to keep his car within DRS range of Infamous at the moment. Having a bit of a difficult time trying to actually do that. Down to about 7/10, so he's gaining and losing time in certain portions of the track, so we'll see how that works. A lot of penalties being handed out so far here for the Mexican Grand Prix feature race, and that definitely will affect track positions by the time we get to the end of the race, so we'll see how that works out. Out the front, lead has extended up to 5.5 seconds right now between Laurentio and John there. John having a very difficult time keeping up with Laurentio for the lead of the race. Scientist trying to catch up to him there in second. Gap is 2.5 seconds, so he still has some time and some work to do there. He's on the slower tire. We'll have to do a stop at some point, probably switch on to the super softs going to the end. We'll see what sort of advantage he gets when he does do that stop, because he's going to have to try and gain an advantage at some point through that. Still following on with Infamous here, chasing after Scientist. He's coming under pressure right now. Might be looking at losing third position in the race, even though Infamous has a penalty. Still going to push on through. Within DRS range, we'll have that advantage going down the pit straight and trying to get within the slipstream of Scientist's car, but I don't know how well that's working. Does seem to be gaining some sort of straight line speed going on through. Might try to get him in turn one, but actually no, holds back for now. Doesn't want to risk losing the position, so holds on to that and gets a bit blocked up there. Not enough of a gap to work it to get past and get the overtake done with. 2/10 is what the gap is, and he's going to try and keep it there in the second DRS going through here in sector 1 still. And this is now allowing BMC to actually catch up to Infamous, as he's getting a bit held up by Scientist at the moment. Needs to try and get that overtake done with and avoid BMC catching up to him, because gap is 1.2 seconds. He's starting to come within the DRS range, and that's not going to be good for his end. Out in front, gap keeps on extending up to about 6.8 seconds right now, and that's going to continue on. Scientist having a hard time keeping up with John as well, as he's trying to keep Infamous behind there in P4 at the moment, and looks like he might just be able to get that overtake done on this upcoming lap going into lap 6, as they're going into now. Actually, I don't think they're going into lap 7 right now. Yep, that's correct, they're going to lap 7. Let's go on board and have a look how close Infamous is able to get to, because he's right up into the slipstream of Scientist's car, and definitely will have that advantage along with DRS. Should be able to help him get that overtake done on this current lap. And that slipstream does work pretty well. It gets alongside him on the inside on this occasion and tries to get the overtake done. Does look like he might get it up into third. That's going to be Scientist down to fourth here right about now, and has about BMC coming about 1.4 seconds behind, so needs to be a bit careful with that gap that he currently has there, as you can see him coming down in the background. The Scientist is still doing a pretty good job keeping up with Infamous through this sector of the track. We'll see by the end of lap 7 if that still holds. Out in front, gap continues to extend. I'm not sure where Laurentio is getting this amount of advantage or pace from with that car. He's up by 8 seconds ahead of John right now. John not doesn't look like he's having any sort of luck trying to keep up, and he's running on the exact same strategy as Laurentio right now. This might just come down to car setups in terms of having the pace on the track here. Going back down to the midfield in the grid right now with GTF Fanatic and Omar here fighting it for 10th. Gap is about 8/10, so they're within DRS range. He's trying to fall out of that DRS range at the moment. Needs to get back in if he wants any sort of advantage to go through and get a good finishing position in this race and possibly get some points. I'll see where that goes pretty shortly. We got race leaders into the pits right now. We got Laurentio in. I think John is in as well. Infamous, BMC are all into the pits. That puts Scientist up into the lead of this race here right now, with Ace versus King coming down there in second, about 3.3 seconds behind. J Sarge is now up to third on that because of those pit stops. We'll see where they come back out on track. David is now running in fourth, and looks like Laurentio might be exiting the pits and getting back out on track right now in the fifth position, and that's not a bad place for him to be in, because those out front running 7 laps on those soft tires will have to do a pit stop at some point later on in the race, going on to probably the super softs to go on to the end. We'll see what the strategy play will be. But Laurentio back out in 5th, looking to get back the lead of the race as soon as possible. John back out in 6th right now, and he's about 9.5 seconds down from Laurentio's time, so not doing too well with that. GTA Fanatic running 7. He's about 2 seconds behind. Not sure how much advantage he will have on those older tires there. Omar running 8, Infamous running 9th. He's back out on track. Lando up to 10th right now. Did a pit stop very early off in this race, probably repair some damage, I think, because he's done 5 laps on his set of tires right now. BMC back out to the pits in 11th, so we do have some traffic in the middle of these cars who did their first round of pit stop. We'll see how that works for them. And back out in front, it looks like Ace versus Skin is catching up the scientists at some sort of pace here, because gap is now down to about 2.8 seconds. And down the pit straight he goes. He doesn't have the DRS advantage as yet, but he will be coming across that advantage soon enough if he can keep breaking the gap down. At this point, 7.5 seconds to him, and Jay Sarge down behind in 3rd. Dave is still trying to catch up at 3.8 seconds behind. And going back down in the midfield, Lando is actually trying to gain a few positions here right now. He is about 5 tenths behind Omar's car, and definitely looking to get a position up into 9th, and having some problems getting into the wall there and losing a portion of his front wing. So took some damage on that, and he's getting into the pits here right now. Doesn't want to go all the way around the track. Using a damaged front wing will probably cost him a lot of time, but rather just use a bit of time in the pit lane and get that car repaired to get back out. Quite a few penalties with drivers so far, as we can see. Back up here in 11th with Slayer right now, chasing after BMC for 10th position. Uses a bit of slipstream DRS advantage, not able to get overtake done before heading into turn 1. Through turn 2 has a pretty close gap, about 3 tenths, getting into the 2nd DRS zone. Let's see if that's going to help him at any point here. And on board, we're going to try again to have a look, see how close he's going to get. He needs to take down the inside to the next turn, but I don't think he's close enough to look for a gap to get an overtake done with. So probably have to keep this until into lap 9, and looks like we have either a safety car or a VSC at the moment. And looks like it's a full safety car, for something's happened on track, and I'm not sure what that is. It looks like it's something with Mr. Padar down at the back in 17th, and he is unfortunately out of the race. So I'm not sure on which portion of the track that actually happened in. But that now leaves us with 16 drivers in the race itself, and still a good number to work with going down to the end. Would have expected to lose maybe another 2 or 3 more by this point in the race. We're on lap 10 of 20 and the halfway point. He gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car, and that's something you just cannot do. And they do try to gain as much advantage as they can when there's a safety car or a VSC, and this might provide a good opportunity for drivers looking to take a free pit stop right about now. So as you can see, Ace versus King David, and looks like GTA Fanatic are into the pits right now, taking their 1 pit stop, going on to the super softs, and they have to pull off on a good 10 laps on those sides, provided we're under a full safety car, which will be going for at least another 2 laps. That's going to save those tires at least 2 laps, so provided about maybe about 8 laps of racing to do on them, which is definitely doable in this session, so that should come to an advantage to them. Scientist and Jay Sarge, however, have not chosen to do a pit stop as yet. They're still running 9 laps on both of the tires that they are. This is the end of this lap is going to be 10 for them. Let's see if they do decide to do a stop at this point, though, but it's going to cost them quite a bit. I think this is where strategy comes in, because if they have taken a stop a little bit earlier, maybe could have avoided this in terms of running on the opposite strategy, as those who started on the super softs are now on the softs to go to the end. And that's coming to an advantage for them. With this safety car coming out at this point, it's going to be quite a big disadvantage to J Sarge and Scientist, because they're going to be down to the bottom of the grid if they take a pit stop at this point, with everyone closing the gap in on each other very, very quickly. They might end up somewhere maybe in the midfield if they do decide to take a stop at this point, but I'm not sure if they will. And looks like they're actually going to do it. Is J Sarge going in as well? Yep, he is. So they're going into the pits right about now. Let's see where they come back out by the time they do get back out to the rest of the grid, and where they're going to be at the end of this race, because this is going to cost them quite a few positions. Of course, everyone running under the safety car under a reduced speed should help them not lose as many positions as they usually would under a regular pit stop. And let's see where Scientist does come back out. Barely gets out in front of Jay Sarge's car there. might have been deemed a bit of an unsafe release. I'm not sure. It seems like scientists had a much longer pit stop. Not sure if that's what the situation was. And they're back out on track right there. Bollocks tries to get a bit of an advantage running in 5th. Tries to get back out with that. So 6 is going to be the position the scientist comes back out on track. Jay starts running in 7th right now. And really not too bad a position for the two of them. Let's see where they did start. Down at the bottom of the grid. And looks like Scientist is back right where he started. Jay Sarge, however, is up by 5 positions. So he's having an advantage out of this still, as it is Scientist still back where he started. So he's going to have to try and see how much positions he's able to keep. Just get when the race restarts. And why are they keep getting penalties under the safety car? Now I think everyone's finally caught now back to each other. Just a bit of a gap between Scientists and Bollocks at the moment, just about 3.6 seconds, which you'll probably be able to get rid of in the upcoming lap. Because it seems like we're going to have to do just one more lap under the safety car before we actually get back racing here. Because it doesn't look like that safety car is going in as yet. And no, it's not going in back as yet. We got to go one more lap under that, and that's going to go into lap 12. So heading into lap 13 is where we're going to get back racing. So we're just going to wait at least one more lap before the race does get back to a restart. So quite a change up on the grid. And we do have Laurentio back out into the lead of the race there right now, with John running there in 2nd. Everyone's going to start weaving around the track quite a bit to get those tires back up to temperature, because they know they're about to get back racing. Bollocks still trying to catch up back to BMC, I think, here right now. I see actually pretty close, but not too far behind, but he needs to close that gap just a bit more, just to get some sort of advantage when the restart does happen. Alright, so heading into sector 3 now, and then we should have this. We have the confirmation from race control. The safety car is going to be in on this current lap, going back racing on lap 13. Let's see how well that's going to go out in front between Laurentio, John, and Infamous, though BMC right there behind of them. So going to be a close one. Of course, Scientist, J Sarge, David, all on the soft tires. They're going to have just a bit more of an advantage on those fresh super soft tires, actually, to compared to the soft tires with the guys out in front. So let's see how much of an advantage it's going to be, because they're going to try and get as much positions up as they can, especially Scientists. They're started right there in 6th, so definitely wants some sort of advantage in this race, and they're about to get back going here right now. And gaps are keeping a bit constant as they are as they get down that pit straight. No DRS advantage on this current lap. We'll have to wait until probably the next lap before race control puts that back online. A pretty close gap between John and Laurentio out in front for the lead of the race, and trying to have a look down in the midfield, trying to go a bit further down to see what's happening between Scientists and Bollocks right now. We want to see if Scientists is getting any sort of advantage out of these super soft tires here at the moment, which he should be getting. I think BMC though is having a pretty close gap here with Infamous. John Banter just in front of that, so all pretty close off together. Laurentio has lost his big lead that he had out front. He's going to still try to keep up as much as he can and possibly get it, or keep them out of the DRS range if possible at this point. We still got quite a close gaps, and most of our cars going through the grid. They're going to have to be just a bit careful with any overtakes attempted at this point on lap 13 right now, because this could result in it not ending well. And there goes Infamous trying to get past John there for second place. Actually gets the position up. They're still side by side though, getting through the end of this current lap. And let's see who's going to get a position. And another switch happened. John gets back to position once again. That's Infamous back down to third. But a great overtake move from him. And almost keeping that position. But I think he went a little bit too wide off the next turn, which caused him to lose it back there. And we do have Infamous now just behind John there, not far off here, but BMC trying to get past Infamous around the outside right now. TRS will come back as an advantage in just a bit here. Side by side, these two go into turn one. Let's see who's going to come out in front in third place. BMC currently holds on to it, so switch back with Infamous, and he's going to have to just keep switching until one of them oh, and there is a bit of an incident there, so BMC and causes just a bit of an incident with Infamous. A bit of contact causes him to spin around and loses the car. He's down to 12th right now. BMC still continues though in P3. That might just be reported. I'm not sure how well that one is going to go over with the stewards. And down behind BMC we do have about 7/10 with Bolos trying to catch up with him. Down below in J Sart now chasing after David here for P6. Just in front of that we do have Scientists trying to catch up right now to Bolos here at the moment, and on board with David actually still trying to get past Scientists. It looks like he's being held up quite a bit because he's getting right up to the rear, but looking for a pretty good gap just to easily get that overtake done with, and needs to be a bit careful about it. I think he might just be keeping it until the pit straight to try to get that overtake done with some DRS advantage. Scientist goes a bit wide, still doesn't pull through, but he's going to try to push it around the outside just a bit, maybe see if he can get any advantage from that, but doesn't. He's going to just keep it behind and use the slipstream and just use the run down into turn one to get his advantage here right about now, which is what he is trying to do. Now, so side by side, these two do go, but J Sart is trying to get in the middle of this. I'm not sure how good of an idea that might be at this one, but he gets around Scientist's car up into P5. Scientist down to 6, and David has actually gotten the position up into 4th right now. And still a pretty close gap though with Scientist and J Sart, so he's trying to get back the position if he can here at this point. And not forgetting, we do have Lando here about 2 seconds behind, sorry, 2 tenths behind Ace versus King. And he's another 2 tenths behind Scientist's car right now, so quite a bit of a battle going on in the midfield fighting for positions. Laurentier out front has gained some sort of advantage once again. He's ahead by 4 seconds from John. They're running in second with a penalty. Bottles they're running third with a penalty as well. David in 4th does have a penalty. J Sart as well with a penalty in 5th, following on through. And still we're following right now with a close gap between Scientists, Ace versus King, and Lando for P6 at the moment. These are just a bit in front of that by a few tenths, but I think he's trying to keep out of that fight. Doesn't really want to get in the middle of this, but he's gonna be ending up in it either way, because Scientist is trying to get past him there right now. And we do have I think Lando and Ace versus King fighting it out down behind. Someone might have gone a little bit wide off track. They're back on it and going again. Going back on board right now with Ace versus King. 1.3 seconds behind is where Lando is, and he's going to try to catch back up as much as he can. That was a purple sector there so far for Ace versus King, so not a bad lap from him. And the cars being this close up, they do have to be very careful on how close they actually get to the rear of another car to not get a brake check at this point. That can be reported, but let's see what's going to happen here, because you can never tell when the driver can suddenly brake just to maybe avoid something out in front. I think we have GTF Fanatic retiring in the pits there. So that's 2 drivers out of the race so far. It leaves us with 15 to finish off the feature race here on lap 16 of 20, coming to the end of this race in about another 6 or 7 minutes. And there we go, we have Ace versus King and Scientist going side by side right now, fighting for P6, and looks like Ace versus King has the better straight line speed going on through. And they do have Lando just about less than a half a tenth behind them. So he's trying to fight for that position as well. And Infamous is unfortunately out of the session. Not sure what's happening with that. I think he's retired in the pits. I'm not sure. That is BMC with Carlin Motorsports with the fastest lap so far. Lando and Spooner now fighting it with scientists here for a position. Quite a few cars getting into it. This might not result in a happy ending for all of them, but they're quite close off together. Let's see who's down in the back. Frenzy is quite a way back, so he's not getting into this. Scientist and Slayer going side by side, fighting for 9. Spooner out in front, trying to keep up with Lando, who's trying to keep up with Ace out in front in 6th. And they're starting to run out of laps to get these overtakes done with right about now. So going back up to Spooner here, chasing after Lando for P7. So 5-10 gap between at least a few cars down in the midfield. Let's see how that's going. Out in front, Lemon just still leads though by quite a big gap, 7.1 seconds. And that puts John down to second. David there running third with 1.5 seconds between him and John. Wallace running fourth. He is within DRS range of David, but not able to get past him as yet. Lando here are going side by side with Ace versus King, trying to take it on the inside, I think. Who does have the inside? Actually, no, Lando is down. Ace took it on the inside, so Lando's down to 7th now. He's lost that position. Definitely going to be trying to get it back. Spooner coming just behind him now. Slayer and Scientist fighting it out down behind here for P9 as well. Going back to Lando, those C's going side by side on the inside, trying to fight it off with Ace versus King for 6th place at the moment. They're still go side by side fighting on True. I don't think they're going to give that position up that easily. So Spooner and Lando fighting it now. Let's see how well that's going to go for them. Lando desperately trying to hold on to P6 at this point here, not having any penalties, so does want to keep that position going to the end. Of course, Ace versus King does have his teammate coming just behind of him, so needs to be a bit mindful of that right about now, because Slayer is catching up to them. He's about a second behind. David still within DRS range of John, but not able to even attempt an overtake there right now to see what's happening with that. And that is Ace trying to go on the outside of Lando for P6. Let's see if he gets that done. We have some minor contact, I think, between the two of them. Forces his way through and gets up into 6th. Pushes Lando down to 7th right now, but Spooner trying to get alongside him. And let's see how that's going to work out, because looks like Lando is losing 2 positions here. As he inside on the turn, might be able to just keep it for now. We're on lap 19, so needs to be a bit mindful of how much time is left in the race to just gain positions here. And these 3 don't have any penalties, so whatever positions they do finish is what they're going to get. Of course, Ace versus King being there in 6th, and within the 3 seconds of Jay Sarge, should be able to get up into P5 at the end of the race. Let's have a look at what penalties are like right about now. It's 3 seconds of John, 9 for David, Box with 6, and Jay Sarge 3. And just a bit going down the order as well. We'll see if that's how much that's going to affect race positions down at the end. Definitely should affect position for 5th and 6th though, because Lando is now 1.4 seconds within with Jay Sarge. Ace back down to 7th. His teammate just in the rear of his car, and these 3 are quite close off together in a train going on through. Lando is going to be under a bit of pressure going down the pit straight right now, with the DRS advantage coming from those cars behind. Into the final lap we are at the moment, and 9.8 seconds is what Laurentian leads out front by. We got Ace versus King taking around the outside, and his teammate as well, Spooner, trying to get around the outside of Lando as well. So let's see how much positions he's about to lose here, because he's now fighting it with Spooner instead of Ace versus King, who's gotten out in front of him. And these are teammates fighting it for that position. Lando now trying to get around the outside to see if he can get the position back up. He has the inside next turn. Ace still in 6th, and he's still side by side with Spooner on the final lap of this race going on through. And this is just for that much more points at this point here. Being the second race of the season, they're trying to get as much points as they can at the start, so in case they do bad on the next race, we'll be making up for it. Out of front gap is about 10.4 seconds right now. Let's follow on through with Lorente here, who has led majority of the laps in this race and just crossed the line to take the win for the Mexican Grand Prix feature race here for round 2 of L2S F2 Esports. We got John coming around to take second on the podium. David takes fourth. Bollocks takes third because of penalties coming into play with that. Jay Sarge is currently across the line in fourth, so let's see how that works out because he's now down to fifth. Ace takes away fourth. Lando is going to take sixth. David down all the way down to seventh because of penalties, and Spooner takes eighth. Currently, as it is, Scientist gets across the line in 9th, and Slayer will get across the line 10th. He should be able to keep that with a 16-second gap towards Frenzy down in 11th, who's going to cross the line now, taking that position. Then we got BMC taking 12th. The Kuna with 9 seconds of penalties will take 13, and Omar should get across the line and finish here in 14th on the grid. But not a bad finish here, but penalties do tend to affect track positions quite a lot in terms of depending on how much penalties you have and what's the gap to the car in front and what's the gap to the car behind. So that's why they do have to try to keep their race as clean as possible and avoid the penalty situation. Alright, so we should have Omar get across the line pretty soon. Infamous, GTA Fanatic, and Mr. Padar were not able to finish this race, unfortunately. They will be able to race in the sprint race coming up very shortly. Should be quite a number of less laps, maybe about 14 laps or so average probably it will be. So it really won't be too long with that one, and should just be a straight on through race. We'll see what it's going to be, and that's a puncture there for Omar as well, as he finished a race with that. Not sure how he got a puncture, but they finished the race with it either way. So driver of the day goes to Ace versus King on this one, at least for the feature race. We'll see what's going to happen down in the sprint race coming up in just a bit. Let's have a look at the preliminary results, at least for a feature race, and then we're going to get on straight to the next session. Alright guys, so for the round 2 here for the Mexican Grand Prix, Laurentio takes the win for the Mexican Grand Prix, at least for the feature race. John takes second on the podium, Bollocks takes third, Ace takes fourth, Jay Sarge takes fifth, Lando takes sixth, David in seventh, Spooner 8th, Scientist 9th, Slayer 10th, Frenzy 11th, BMC in 12th, Decona in 13, Omar 14, Infamous in 15, unfortunately not able to finish, along with GTA Fanatic in 16 and Mr. Padar in 17. So at least some good points in so far. Laurentio gets a fastest lap in this session as well. Not a bad finish for him. Anyway, we're going to head straight on over to the sprint race as the guys get the grid order sorted for custom, and then we should get started with that in about 2 minutes. Alright, getting started with the sprint race and about 14 laps, just about an average guess, so that was quite correct with that. So David leads so far with Spooner running second, still alongside him though, but not having the best of run getting into turn 1 because it's kind of even between them. So let's see, JSR gets within the middle of that, and that's gonna be not ending best as well. Definitely having a lot of contact down at the back as a yep. And that might result in a bit of yellow flag going on. Not sure if it's going to have a virtual safety car for that incident. Well, let's see what goes on through the rest of the race. Still all 18 drivers in it, and definitely some more contact happening at the back as a few cars are getting a bit off track. I think it's just going to be a lot of debris on track, at least for now. Let's see how that gets on through the rest of the race, though. Someone seems to be having a bit of a glitch because that car is bouncing up and down on track, and I think that's Angry Orange. I'm not sure what's happening with his car. Maybe a bit of a glitch. I don't think anyone else's car is doing that. Maybe that's just on my end. I'm not sure. And we're back out in front. Lando just about a tenth between him and Spooner at the moment, so still fighting it for third place in the race, and his gap is starting to extend just a bit. The Rentier who won the last race is down in 9th at the moment, 5 tenths between him and BMC. Let's see where he finishes off in this race. Might be looking to get a second win here. Alright, so Lando taking it on the inside, gets up into third against Spooner, who's down to 4th right about now, and a pretty close gap between the two of them still as he's looking to get some sort of advantage on the slipstream, and he's going to have to take it around the outside because he's going to be forced to. Let's see if he's able to get that position up. John there chasing after Ace and Spooner. Both of them might be trying to keep him down behind, at least for now. Let's see how that advantage is working towards with them. Already got 2 cars into the pits, definitely because of some damage taken from the start of the race. Alright, back up with Laurentier right now, so he's getting fastest sectors at the moment. I have some contact with BMC just behind of him. Slayer trying to catch up and get past that car as well. So he's up into 8th place in this race so far on running. Let's see where he finishes off though, because he's trying to catch up the scientists right now, who didn't have the best of luck in terms of race pace on the opening few laps in the last race there. So let's see what sort of advantage he gets here, because he's having a bit of a difficult time keeping the car in front there in 7th. Of course, I think Lorenzo does have some sort of pace that everyone else is having a hard time finding on this track here. Because definitely looks like he is going to get that overtake done by the time we get to the pit straight here. So he's going to have that advantage going down. I don't think DRS is going to be online as yet. I know, there he goes. DRS is now online, so they're going to have that advantage to them. And most of these cars running on the soft tires, probably just planning to run all the way down to the end of the race on them. So we'll see what the strategy will be on that. And that is Laurentier up into 7th so far. He's ahead of Scientist now and gaining positions as he moves up the field. John about a 10 behind, actually trying to get alongside Ace versus King for P5. Ace's teammate just out in front of that, so let's see how much of an advantage he will get. David still leading the race with J Sarge running 2nd, 1.8 seconds behind. Lando still 3rd, about 2 tenths behind. He's trying to get an advantage, possibly trying to get up to 2nd place if possible here, and he's trying to get alongside J Sarge. Having a bit of a difficult time doing that though. He needs to get a good gap to work with, trying to avoid damage to the car as he pushes on through. Did finish quite well in round 1 last week, so let's see how much advantage he is getting this week on with the DRS getting through. He might be able to get up into 2nd place going down that pit straight where the DRS range coming up there pretty soon, and using a bit of the slipstream as long as he can keep as close as he is right now to J Sarge's car, which he's definitely trying to do. Does have Spooner coming there in 4th. I don't think he's too worried about him. Tries to take the inside around that 3rd, gaining a bit of an advantage. At least a 10 might have been gained there. And down the pit straight he goes here right now. That's Ball's being lapped there in 18th, and he does have the slipstream advantage with the DRS as well. Takes it on the inside, and looks like JSR will be losing 2nd place to the race and goes down to 3rd with a penalty as well. Omar has a penalty as well, so 2 penalties so far. We'll see how much more we're going to have before we get to the end of the race. Already on lap 4 of 14. And with a sprint race, it's really not going to be too long of a race. So we'll see how fast they come to the end with this. J-Sart still chasing after Lando here, but losing that position right about now. Almost. Oh, and just takes a bit of contact with Lando's car, losing a portion of his front wing. too long of a race. We'll see how fast they come to the end with this. JSR still chasing after Lando here, but losing that position right about now. Almost. One just takes a bit of contact with Lando's car, losing a portion of his front wing. He's still running P4, but let's see how much damage is going to affect his car, because it's quite... I'm not sure how much debris was taken off the car, but he might have lost just at least... He did lose the end plate. The left side end plate is missing off of his front wing, so definitely going to be some performance issues there. Because John is now catching up to him by a decent pace. He's about 5 tenths behind. Lando now gets a fastest lap and he's running in second, 2.7 seconds behind David. So he's looking at getting a race win this evening here on a sprint race if possible, but he needs to break that gap down very, very quickly. BMC running on the super soft tires. I'm not sure how well his strategy is going to work for him, but we'll see how that works out. Down at the back, it looks like Omar Frenzy has a pretty close gap there as well, but we're going to keep here at the moment with BMC and John. See how close these two are going to get. JSR's coming under pressure right now with that damaged front wing. He's going to have some trouble keeping that car in the position that he has it there at the moment, especially getting around some of these turns, as John is now right up to the rear of him. I might try to get by on the next straight coming up. Let's see for how much longer JSR is able to defend and keep that position. Of course, we do have BMC coming behind of John as well by 3/10, so he's going to try to get some sort of advantage and possibly get that position up as quickly as he can. I'm not sure if he knows about the damage on Jay Sarge's car, but definitely will try to get up. Laurentier running in 7th so far. He's about 2 tenths behind BMC, so he's following on here as well, trying to gain as much positions as he can, possibly trying to win the race for himself if he can at this point. We're going to approach a halfway point of the race very soon, as it's really not a long race. Going back down to Laurentier now in 7th here on board. Let's have a look at him and BMC. He should have some DRS advantage going down the straight, which he will have. And he's trying to keep within the slipstream here right now. You can see BMC pulling to the right side, probably trying to keep him out of it. Out in front, J Sarge and John have switched positions. So John is up into 4th right now on the grid. Puts J Sarge down to 5th, and he's about to lose another position to BMC there, because that damaged front wing definitely is causing him some performances he's getting it wrong. I'm not sure if he's going to push all the way to the end of the race with it. He might just choose to do that, because he will lose a few positions still, rather than take a stop and go all the way down to the back of the grid, because gaps are pretty close as we can see right now. I think the gaps start to extend all the way from when we get onto Infamous there in 16th. He's about 13 seconds behind GTF Fanatic. The rest of the grid still pretty close out, within a second to 2 at most between most of the cars going through. Out in front gap is 2.8 seconds between David and Lando, so Lando not having the best of luck in terms of trying to get a race win. Needs to get a gap under a second to get some sort of advantage, and this is Slayer trying to get around, I think BMC, no, the Ranger getting around BMC here, and Slayer coming behind of him, so the Ranger gets up into 6th now. And he's going to continue pushing his way through to the front of the grid. Now he's now about 4 tenths behind J Sarge, which should not be a difficult overtake to have him do here, because J Sarge does have a broken front wing. Just does depend on the straight line speed that J Sarge has. He might be able to hold him off just a bit until the end of this section of the track at least. But getting to a second DRS zone coming up right about now in just a bit, so he's going to have that advantage, trying to get around the outside already. He might already notice that that car has some performance issues at the moment. Into the second DRS zone, and JSR trying to keep him out of the slipstream, going down that bit of straight there. And there he goes. I don't think JSR fought him too much on that one there with the damage that he has. Just tried to keep the car still on track. Now down to 6. He's now going to be on the threat of losing the position to Slayer, coming about 3 tenths behind. Alright, so still on lap 7 going through. Lando still about 2.3 seconds behind David out in front. He's gaining a bit of time, I think, but needs to gain a lot more very quickly if he does want to get a race win. Of course, I think he's might be able to get it still because David has a penalty right now. And definitely minimum is going to be a 3-second penalty, which it is. And that 3-second penalty might just cost him a race win here this evening for the sprint race, because all Lando now has to do is keep within 3 seconds, that is, of David's car, and he gets the race win by default at the end of it, even though he could go across the line second here. So penalties can cost you a podium position here as well. That is Slayer up into 6. J Sarge is now down to 7. That broken front wing is definitely affecting his race here, but he can't do anything much about it at this point. He committed to going to the end of the race, so he's gonna have to just go to the end of the race on it rather than do a stop, go into a set of super softs and fall down quite a few positions, maybe down to 14th or 15th, which is where he might end up if he does choose to take a stop at this point here. I think we have about 2 cars into the pits right now, and one of those being TTF Fanatic, who was getting on the super soft tires to go to the end. We'll see how much of an advantage he gains out of that. Let's go back out in front a bit with Laurentio here, chasing after John here for P4. These two were at it on the previous race, and they're back at it again. Laurentio looking to get by right about now. He was trying to pull alongside him to take it on the inside of that turn, but just rethink that and just put the car back into 5th for now. In front of them, though, we do have Spooner trying to get away as well. He's about 4/10 in front of John, so not too far off. Gap out in front between David and Lando down to 1.8 seconds. So Lando is gaining time right now and probably feels a bit more confident, especially knowing that David has that 3-second penalty, which is going to give him the race win by default at the end of this. I think Slayer was attempting to get an overtake down. I think it was just Laurentio trying to attempt an overtake on John there, sorry. John is still a bit focused on getting past Spooner here right now because he's trying to get alongside him, but Spooner trying to get out of the way of that. He's only about 2/10 ahead of them. On board right now, Red Ranger still in P5 at the moment, chasing after John for P4, and this might get several coming down the straight pretty soon enough if the Ranger is able to keep that gap as close as he is and has the DRS and a slipstream advantage. He might just be able to get overtake done because John is not going to make it too easy on him right about now, and gap is about 3/10 as they get off that final turn. And you can see John pulled all the way to the right side of the track, now pulling back to the left side, trying to keep him out of DRS range as trying to keep him out of the slipstream going along that straight, but not sure how much that actually helped. Because Laurentio now pushes on through the inside, cuts the track just a little bit there, and gets a 3-second penalty, which is going to cost him quite a bit in this race. He took a quite bold move on that one, and I think it's going to cost him a position here. Because even if he gets past John now, John doesn't have any penalties, so that's going to put him back up a position. Because I think John definitely has a pace to keep up with the Laurentio, even if he gets past going to the end, and we'll still get back the position from him. I think it was a bit risky attempting that overtake at that point there. Should have just waited a lap or 2 more to get that done. It's sometimes a bit of a waiting game in terms of getting an overtake done, especially against a skilled opponent in front of you. I don't think it's worth taking a chance and getting a penalty because that 3 seconds will cost him that position down at the end now. As a 3-second penalty is going to cost David a race win here this evening against Lando, who has only a 1.5-second gap between the two of them. David is just going to have to hope that Lando gets a penalty at some point. That's the only way he's going to be able to keep that race win. Or if Lando makes some sort of significant mistake, which is a bit highly unlikely at this point. Back on board again with Laurentio here, chasing after John once again. and both of them seem to have a decent amount of straight line speed on that pit straight, so he's not getting much of an advantage even with the DRS. Lorenzo now about 2 tenths behind, still chasing after him. Let's have a look on board because John is now about 2 tenths behind Spooner. He's trying to fight for a podium position at this point here, and Lorenzo is losing a position to Slayer down at the back. What's happening there? Slayer now going a bit wide, still trying to keep side by side with Lorenzo going through. He does have a penalty as well, but still fighting for a position here. Out in front is giving John some time to focus a bit on Spooner out in front of him to try and fight for that position. And John gets a 3-second penalty, and down below goes into P5 he goes right now, losing a position as well and getting a penalty. That's costing quite a bit. Now Lorenzo is up to P4 with his 3-second penalty. He's going to be able to keep it at this point and is currently trying to get past Spooner here. Let's see if he has the pace to actually get that done. We're on lap 11, should be going into, I think we're already into lap 12 now, because wrestlers have already entered into lap 12. These guys are not about to go into that. Gap is pretty close between us, so let's see between the 4-10 gap if he's able to get that overtake done with. Spooner trying to keep him with, just gonna keep him out of the slipstream. Not sure how well it's working. And he does have quite a bit of an advantage. He's gonna take it around the outside and try to get that overtake done. See if he's actually able to get it, because Spooner might try to fight him back, but looks like he's down a position and looks like he has some damage on his car from what I can see here. Spooner seems to be missing the right end plate on the front wing, and that could be explaining why he lost the position here, because he did have quite a decent pace going on the race through so far. There's quite a few position changes happening down in the back of the grid there as well, with Chase Sarge and Mr. Padar. They're not sure what's happening. Out in front right about now, Lando is within a second of David, so he's going to have some DRS advantage, and he might just be able to get away with P1 to get across the line that way and take the win either way. So let's see if that overtake is going to happen. Still following here with Spooner, John, and Slayer. Still about 3 tenths between all three of them. And currently on lap 13 at the moment, so we're gonna bring, let's see if we can bring penalties online going into the final lap. Lorenzo gets the fastest lap so far, 1:26.5 I think it was, and he's currently 10 seconds behind Lando. Lando about 3 tenths right now behind David, trying to get that overtake done with. We do have Slayer trying to get a position up on Spooner right now. Looks like he actually gets it into P5. Spooner down to 6. He's trying to fight it back at the moment. Not sure if he's going to be able to get the position back though. Almost loses a car actually, so having a bit of trouble with that. Loses some time there now. And out in front we do have Lando here chasing after David. Down to 3 tenths is what the gap is, so he has a pretty good chance of getting the overtake done, but running out of laps right now because we're just about 1 1/4 laps left to go at this point. And still, even as close as the gap is, might be very difficult for him to get overtake done with, unless he's able to get it done on the pit straight coming up on the final lap here for the sprint race. That's going to be lap 14. Let's keep a bit on board here and see between David and Lando what's going to happen. They're a bit safe from Lorenzo down in third because he's about 10 seconds behind. Mr. Padar there in a bit of the way using DRS advantage, trying to keep in a slipstream going down to turn 1. He might try to risk it or might just try to hold off into P2 because he knows he's going to get the race win either way. With a 6-second penalty that David has there, it's going to cost him quite a bit in this race. He still will be able to get second on the podium if he keeps this up what he has going on here right now. And Lorenzo will be able to finish third on the podium because of the cars behind of him having penalties. And looks like David is going to pull aside, and Lando gets the position up quite easily there. Not sure if David actually just allowed him to go by because he doesn't want to be fighting him on a position that he's not going to be getting either way. With 6 seconds of penalties, might as well just let him go by, stick it down to second, and get across the line rather than risk fighting it with Lando for P1 and getting into an incident and losing out second place on the podium and all of that points as well. So probably a good move on his end if he did allow him, because it did look a little bit that way, that it was a move that was allowed to happen. So I'm not sure if David is going to try to get it back, but I highly doubt he is. He's going to try to keep the gap as close as he can with the 6 second penalty, just making sure the car behind is not going to get past him. And this should be the final turn as they get around, and Lando gets another win this week once again here and takes the win for the sprint race for the Mexican Grand Prix as he gets across the line. David takes second place on the podium. Laurentier gets up all the way into third place, and that's going to be his finishing position on the podium there as well. Got the win for the feature race, finished third on the podium for the sprint race, so not a bad session for him. Slayer finishes 4th so far. John finishes 5th. Let's see if penalties affect anything as they get on through. Ace currently gets across the line with 6. Dikuna should get across and finish in 7th. And penalties now might come into play. Scientist finishes 8th. Because of the amount of penalties, Frenzy will have to take 9th. As he's getting across the line here right about now. The bottom of the grid has finished already, and no one was actually out of this race, which was good to see. J-Star should get across the line, finished there in 10th. Spooner should finish 11. Looks like Infamous finished in 12. Visipadar in 16. Ballers in 17. BMC finishes in 18th. Now we got J-Stars coming around now with a 6 second penalty, 19 second gap, so you'll finish in 10th. Switches on up with Spooner, who takes away 10. J-Stars down to 11. Angry Orange finishes 12, and Omar will take 13 at 24 second penalty. But that looks like he might be a switch there with GTF Fanatic taking 13th, and Omar might have to take 14th on the grid. Let's see if that's what's going to happen here, because it's quite a big of a gap that he has. So Omar goes across the line 13, but I don't think he kept it. Let's have a look. Nope, GTA Fanatic got 13, so Omar is down to 14th on finishing positions. We'll have a final look at the results. Slayer takes the driver of the day on this sprint race, so not a bad finish for him. Alright, results for the sprint race as we have it. So Lando takes the win on that one. David finishes 2nd. Laurentier takes 3rd on the podium and fastest lap, so not a bad finish. Slayer finishes 4th and gets driver of the day. John finishes in 5th. Ace vs King in 6th. Deacon 7th. Scientist 8th. Frenzy in 9th. Spooner in 10th. J-Sarge 11th. Angry Orange in 12th. GTF Fanatic in 13th. Omar 14th. Infamous in 15th. Mr. Padar in 16th. Bollocks in 17th. BMC there in 18th. So that's the end of the session there, guys. Thanks for everyone who joined on to the session. Please, guys, remember to leave a like on the stream and remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new on here. Until tomorrow again for the next stream, should be around 7 p.m. GMT, be around 2 p.m. Eastern time for me.